Picture this. You wake up, 6 a.m. The alarm screams. You hit snooze once, maybe twice. Finally, you drag yourself out of bed. Coffee, shower, the same route to work, the same desk, the same emails, the same meetings where the same problems are discussed with the same people who offer the same solutions that never quite work. You come home, dinner, maybe some Netflix, scroll through your phone, sleep, and then the alarm rings again. 6 a.m. It starts all over again. Day after day, week after week, year after year. And somewhere, deep inside, a voice whispers, "Is this it? Is this all there is?" You're not alone. Millions of people around the world feel this way. We're all pushing our own boulder up our own mountain, and just when we think we've reached the top, just when we think we've made it, the boulder rolls back down, and we have to start all over again. This feeling, this exhausting, repetitive cycle, is what the French philosopher Albert Camus calls the absurd. And here's the shocking part. Camus says this absurdity is not something to run from. It's not something to fix or escape. It's something to embrace. In his groundbreaking philosophical essay, The Myth of Sisyphus, Albert Camus explores one of humanity's most fundamental questions. If life has no ultimate meaning, if everything we do eventually returns to nothing, then why should we keep going? Why shouldn't we just give up? Camus' answer is both radical and liberating. And by the end of this journey, you'll understand why he concludes with one of the most powerful lines in all of philosophy. One must imagine Sisyphus happy. Let's dive in. Dimbun, core message. The Myth of Sisyphus is Albert Camus' philosophical meditation on absurdism, the idea that human beings naturally seek meaning and purpose in a universe that offers none. We want answers, but the universe is silent. We crave significance, but existence is indifferent. This clash between our desire for meaning and the world's meaninglessness is what Camus calls the absurd. Rather than escaping through false hope, religion, or suicide, Camus argues we must rebel against the absurd by living fully, passionately, and consciously. We must accept that life has no inherent purpose, yet choose to live anyway, finding freedom, joy, and dignity in the struggle itself. Like Sisyphus, condemned to roll a boulder up a mountain for eternity, we must embrace our fate, own our choices, and create our own meaning through the act of living. Part 1. The Absurd Condition. Timbunt, Understanding the Absurd. The 3 a.m. question. Let me take you into a moment many of us have experienced. It's 3 a.m. You can't sleep. You lie in bed, staring at the ceiling, and suddenly your mind starts spiraling. You think about your job. You've been working so hard, long hours, late nights, chasing that promotion, that recognition. But for what? In 100 years, will any of it matter? In 1,000 years, will anyone even remember your name? You think about your relationships, the people you love, the connections you've built. But everyone you know will eventually die. Everyone you love will be gone, and so will you. You think about your achievements, your possessions, your plans for the future, and a terrifying thought creeps in. None of this really means anything, does it? This is what Camus calls the absurd revelation. That sudden, crushing awareness that the universe doesn't care about your dreams, your suffering, or your existence. You are a tiny speck of consciousness in an infinite, indifferent cosmos, and one day, you'll be gone, as if you never existed at all. It's a heavy realization, and most of us try to avoid it. Book explanation. What is the absurd? Albert Camus defines the absurd as the confrontation between two fundamental truths. First truth: human beings desperately seek meaning, purpose, and clarity. We want to know why we exist, what we're supposed to do, and where we're going. This is our nature. We are meaning-seeking creatures. Second truth: the universe offers no answers. It is silent, indifferent. There is no cosmic manual, no divine plan written in the stars. The universe doesn't have a purpose for you. It simply is. The absurd is the collision between these two truths, between our human need for meaning and the universe's refusal to provide it. Camus writes, "At any street corner, the feeling of absurdity can strike any man in the face." It happens in everyday moments. You're sitting in traffic, going nowhere. You're at a party where everyone is talking, but nobody is saying anything real. You're working on a project that deep down, you know doesn't matter. The absurd is everywhere once you start to see it. And here's the crucial part. Camus says the absurdity is not something to solve. It's a condition to accept. Practical application. Living with the absurd. So, how do you apply this in real life? First, acknowledge the absurd. Stop pretending your life has to follow some grand narrative or fulfill some ultimate purpose. You don't owe the universe an explanation. You don't need to figure it all out. Second, find freedom in this acknowledgement. If nothing ultimately matters, then you're free to choose what matters to you. You're free to create your own values, your own goals, your own definition of success. A corporate lawyer might realize her prestigious career doesn't fulfill her. Instead of staying trapped by expectations, she embraces the absurd. None of this is inherently meaningful anyway, and quits to become a potter. Not because pottery is objectively better, but because she chooses it. A father realizes that no amount of wealth or legacy will save him from death. Instead of anxiety, this brings clarity. What matters is now. Playing with his daughter, reading her bedtime stories, being present. The absurd doesn't paralyze you. It liberates you. Brain takeaway. Life has no inherent meaning, and that's okay. The absurd is the conflict between our search for meaning and the universe's silence. Accepting the absurd frees you to create your own meaning. Have you ever had a moment where you questioned everything? Your career, your relationships, your purpose? What triggered it? Share your story in the comments below.
Part 2. The Absurd Man. Living without illusions. The absurd man. The comfort of lies. Imagine a woman named Sarah. She's 35, married with 2 kids, works a decent job, goes to church every Sunday. One day, she attends a funeral for a coworker who died suddenly. As she stands at the grave, something shifts inside her. She realizes, this could be me. One day, this will be me. That night, she prays harder than ever. She begs for reassurance, for a sign that there's something more, that her life has purpose, that death isn't the end. And in her prayer, she finds comfort. She convinces herself that everything happens for a reason, that God has a plan, that her deceased co-worker is in a better place now. She pushes the absurd thought away. She chooses comfort over truth. Camus would call this philosophical suicide. Concept explanation. The three escapes. When confronted with the absurd, Camus says humans typically respond in three ways. 1. Physical suicide. Some people conclude, if life has no meaning, why go on? They choose to end their lives rather than face the absurd. Camus firmly rejects this. He argues that suicide is an admission of defeat, a surrender to the absurd. It doesn't solve the problem, it only eliminates the person experiencing it. 2. Philosophical suicide, the leap of faith. This is more common. People escape the absurd by leaping into comforting beliefs, religion, destiny, cosmic justice, reincarnation, the idea that everything happens for a reason. Camus respects religion, but critiques it philosophically. He argues that faith is a form of escape, a refusal to face the absurd directly. It's choosing comforting illusions over uncomfortable truth. This also includes secular escapes, believing in progress, worshiping success, clinging to ideologies that promise ultimate meaning. Bams par, living as the absurd man. This is Camus' path. The absurd man fully accepts that life has no meaning, yet chooses to live anyway, fully, passionately, rebelliously. He writes, "The absurd man says yes, and his effort will henceforth be unceasing." Practical application. Becoming the absurd man. Here's how you become an absurd man or woman. Step 1. Reject false hope. Stop waiting for external validation, divine intervention, or future happiness. Stop believing that one day everything will make sense. Step 2. Embrace uncertainty. Accept that you don't know what happens after death. Accept that your plans might fail. Accept that life is unpredictable and uncontrollable. Step 3. Live fully in the present. If there's no ultimate meaning, then the present moment is all you have. Make it count. Experience it deeply. Don't postpone life. Step 4. Rebel through your choices. Every conscious choice you make is an act of rebellion against meaninglessness. Choosing to love, to create, to help, to laugh. These are your declarations of defiance. A real-world example. A man loses his job at 50. Instead of despair or clinging to the illusion that things will work out, he accepts the absurd. He takes a part-time job he enjoys, spends more time with his aging parents, and starts painting, something he always wanted to do. He doesn't wait for meaning, he creates it. Takeaway. Don't escape the absurd through physical or philosophical suicide. The absurd man lives without illusions, fully embracing uncertainty. Rebellion against the absurd is living passionately despite meaninglessness. Do you believe everything happens for a reason, or do you think life is random and we create our own meaning? Let us know your perspective in the comments. Part 3. Absurd creation. The artist, the conqueror, the seducer. Absurd archetypes. 3 paths of defiance. Let me tell you about 3 people. First, there's Marcus, a writer. He wakes up every morning at 5 a.m. and writes, not because he believes his words will change the world, not because he's chasing fame or immortality. He writes because the act of creation is his rebellion. He knows his books will be forgotten. He writes anyway. Second, there's Diana, a social entrepreneur. She's building schools in rural communities. She knows poverty won't be solved in her lifetime. She knows the system is broken, and her efforts are like drops in an ocean. She builds anyway. Third, there's James, a wanderer. He doesn't chase career success or build a legacy. He travels, he experiences, he connects with people. He lives in the moment, savoring experiences, refusing to chain himself to future promises. He lives anyway. Marcus, Diana, and James represent what Camus calls absurd archetypes, ways of living that embody the absurd philosophy. Concept explanation. The 3 absurd heroes. In The Myth of Sisyphus, Camus presents 3 types of absurd heroes. 1. The creator. Artists, writers, musicians, builders, people who create without illusions. They know their work won't last forever, but they create anyway. The creator doesn't need external meaning. The act of creating is the meaning. 2. The conqueror. Not a military conqueror, but someone who takes on great challenges, fights against injustice, or pursues ambitious goals, all while knowing that ultimate victory is impossible. The conqueror fights not because they believe they'll win, but because the struggle itself is worthwhile. Camus writes about political revolutionaries, activists, and reformers who fight knowing the battle never truly ends. They don't need guaranteed success. The fight is the point. 3. The seducer, or Don John. This isn't about shallow relationships. Camus uses Don John as a symbol of someone who embraces quantity of experience over depth of attachment. The seducer lives fully in each moment, experiencing life intensely, without tying themselves to eternal commitments or illusions of permanence. The seducer says, "Life is short. I will taste it all. I will not postpone joy." Practical application. Which archetype are you? You don't have to fit perfectly into one category, but reflecting on these archetypes can help you embrace the absurd in your own way. If you're a creator, write that book, start that YouTube channel, paint, build, make music. Don't wait for inspiration or perfect conditions. Create because the act itself is meaningful to you. If you're a conqueror, take on that challenge, fight for that cause, pursue that goal. Not because success is guaranteed, but because the struggle shapes you. Because showing up matters. If you're a seducer, say yes to experiences, travel, try new things, meet new people. Don't postpone life waiting for the right time. There is no right time. There's only now. A practical example. A software engineer realizes
he'll never arrive at a final destination in his career. There's always another project, another skill to learn, another ladder to climb. Instead of burnout, he embraces the absurd. He chooses projects he enjoys, says no to toxic workplaces, and prioritizes experiences over accolades. He conquers and creates simultaneously, on his own terms. Takeaway: the creator, the conqueror, and the seducer are models of absurd living. You don't need external validation to justify your actions. Living absurdly means choosing actions that are meaningful to you, regardless of ultimate outcomes. Which archetype resonates with you most? The creator, the conqueror, or the seducer? How do you see yourself living absurdly? Drop your thoughts below. Part 4. The Myth of Sisyphus. Imagine him happy. The myth explained. The eternal boulder. Close your eyes and picture this. A man stands at the bottom of a mountain. At his feet lies a massive boulder, rough and heavy. He bends down, places his hands on the cold stone, and begins to push. Step by step, inch by inch, he climbs. His muscles burn, sweat drips down his face. The sun beats down, but he keeps going. Finally, after hours of exhausting effort, he reaches the summit. For a brief moment, he pauses. He looks out at the view, and then the boulder slips. It rolls back down the mountain, crashing and tumbling until it lands right where he started. And he walks back down, and he pushes it up again, forever. This is Sisyphus, and according to Greek mythology, this is his punishment. But according to Albert Camus, this is also his triumph. Why? Because Sisyphus is fully aware of his situation. He knows the boulder will roll down. He knows his task is meaningless, and yet he pushes anyway. He doesn't lie to himself. He doesn't escape into false hope. He accepts his fate completely, and in that acceptance, he finds freedom. Camus writes, "The struggle itself toward the heights is enough to fill a man's heart. One must imagine Sisyphus happy." Practical application. You are Sisyphus. Here's the truth. You are Sisyphus. Your job, your routines, your responsibilities, they're your boulder. You push it up the mountain every day. And just when you think you've made it, life resets. New problems, new challenges. The boulder rolls back down. And you start again. But Camus is telling you that's okay. Happiness doesn't come from reaching the top. It comes from owning your struggle, from choosing to push, from finding meaning in the act itself. A real-life example. A single mother works 2 jobs to support her kids. Every day is exhausting. Every paycheck is immediately spent. She'll never arrive at financial freedom, but she doesn't wait for that distant day. She finds joy in her children's laughter, pride in her resilience, meaning in her love. She is Sisyphus, and she is happy. Another example. A teacher spends decades educating students. Some students flourish, others forget her lessons. The system is broken, resources are scarce, and change is painfully slow. But she shows up every day, because the act of teaching, the moment of connection with a student, is enough. That's her boulder, and she chooses to push it. Takeaway. Sisyphus represents the human condition,
endless struggle without ultimate resolution. Happiness isn't in reaching the summit, it's in embracing the climb. You are Sisyphus. Own your boulder. Push it with pride. What's your boulder? What's the repetitive struggle in your life that you face every day? And have you found a way to embrace it? Let's talk in the comments. FAQs. Your questions about absurdism and Camus. FAQs. FAQ 1. Is Camus saying life is meaningless and nothing matters? Not exactly. Camus says life has no inherent or universal meaning imposed by the universe or a higher power. But that doesn't mean your life is meaningless. It means you get to decide what matters. You create meaning through your choices, your relationships, your values, and your actions. The absence of cosmic meaning is actually liberating. It frees you from waiting for external validation and empowers you to live authentically. So yes, nothing matters objectively, but everything can matter subjectively if you choose it. That's the heart of absurdism: radical freedom and personal responsibility. FAQ 2. How is absurdism different from nihilism? Great question. Nihilism says life is meaningless, so nothing matters, leading to despair, apathy, or destruction. Nihilism ends in darkness. Absurdism, on the other hand, starts from the same premise: life is meaningless, but responds differently. Camus says, yes, life is meaningless. So what? I'll live passionately anyway. Absurdism is about rebellion, defiance, and joy despite meaninglessness. While nihilism leads to giving up, absurdism leads to embracing life fully. Think of it this way: nihilism is surrender. Absurdism is rebellion. Nihilism says nothing matters, so why try? Absurdism says nothing matters, so I'm free to choose what matters to me. FAQ 3. Can you be religious and still embrace Camus' philosophy? You can appreciate Camus' insights, but full absurdism and traditional religious belief are philosophically incompatible. Absurdism requires accepting that the universe provides no
Answers, no ultimate meaning, and no divine plan. Religion, by definition, offers those things: faith in God, purpose, eternal life, moral order. Camus called religious faith philosophical suicide because it leaps away from the absurd into comforting belief. That said, many religious people find value in Camus' emphasis on living fully in the present, embracing struggle, and finding joy in existence. You might not adopt his complete philosophy, but his insights on resilience, freedom, and presence can enrich any worldview. It's about what resonates with your personal journey. Question 4. How do I start living as an absurd man or absurd woman? Start small. First, stop waiting for life to make sense or for circumstances to be perfect. Accept uncertainty as a permanent condition. Second, identify what genuinely brings you joy, fulfillment, or purpose, not what society, family, or tradition says should matter. Third, commit to those things fully, even knowing they won't last forever. Love deeply, even though everyone dies. Create passionately, even though your work will fade. Help others, even though suffering continues. Fourth, practice presence. Stop living in the past or future. Be here now. Finally, embrace your struggles. Stop resisting your boulder. Own it, push it, and find dignity in the pushing. Living absurdly means living consciously, freely, and intensely, without illusions, but with full engagement. Conclusion: imagine yourself happy. Let's come back to where we started. You wake up. The alarm rings. The same routine begins. The same boulder waits at the bottom of the same mountain. But something has changed. You see it differently now. That boulder, your job, your responsibilities, your relationships, your struggles, it's not a punishment. It's not meaningless suffering. It's your life. And you get to choose how you carry it. Albert Camus doesn't offer you easy answers. He doesn't promise that everything will work out, that God has a plan, or that your suffering will be rewarded. Instead, he offers you something more powerful: freedom. Freedom from waiting for life to begin. Freedom from needing external validation. Freedom from the pressure to find some ultimate cosmic purpose. You don't need permission to live. You don't need guarantees. You don't need a reason written in the stars. You just need to choose. Choose to push the boulder, knowing it will roll back down. Choose to love, knowing